Hello, and welcome to another video from 3.5 Archive. Today's video is going to be a list of the top 10 worst class features from D&D 3.5. You can't choose every class feature you get, and the good usually outweighs the bad. Even so, some features just feel outright disappointing, and barely even worth the effort of writing down in your character sheet. This is a list of the worst class features in D&D 3.5. We'll be looking specifically at features for base classes, not prestige classes, and we'll be considering each class feature within the context of the class it's for. If it wouldn't be very good in a vacuum but synergizes well with other features, then it can't be considered one of the worst. We also won't be considering alternate class features in this video, although you will be able to find a best and worst top 10 video for alternate class features elsewhere on the channel. Finally, specific bonus feats such as Endurance for Rangers and Skill Focus Heal for Healers won't be considered, even though they oftentimes are not very good. So, with that, let's get to the list of the top 10 worst class features in D&D 3.5. At number 10, we have Ghost Mind. This is a 14th level feature for ninjas, and it forces a spellcaster who wishes to scry on a ninja to make a caster level check of DC 20 plus the ninja's class level. A DC 34 caster level check isn't easy for anyone to make, especially since spell penetration would not work on this check. But the ability simply means the ninja isn't detected. While this would be an amazing feature for a lone ninja being hunted by a kingdom's powerful mages, it isn't so great when you're an entire party of characters. If somebody can't scry on you, they'll just scry on somebody else in your party. If one of you is scryed on, then effectively all of you are. And the likelihood an enemy will scry on you in the first place is fairly low anyway, and in most campaigns, this ability won't come up at all. At number 9, we have Say My Name and I Am There. This is a 20th level True Namer class feature, and while it has one of the coolest names and concepts of any class ability in D&D 3.5, it is also one of the worst. As part of the D&D lore, all creatures have a true name, a very complex name unique to that creature. You need to succeed on a true naming skill check to say a creature's true name, and the check is very difficult. Whenever somebody says your true name while you have this class feature, you can choose to appear there immediately, as if by the word of recall spell. You know who is saying your true name, so you can choose not to teleport there, so that prevents you being trapped by an enemy, but even so, it tends not to be a very good strategy to share your true name, even with allies. As an enemy you can capture them and learn it from them, will have quite a bit of power over you, as that is the whole basis of the True Namer class. This could be a cool feature for level 10 or so, but at level 20, the other party members will have had the ability to cast Word of Recall as a regular spell for several levels. And also, it seems like you can only go there by yourself, leaving your party behind, and breaking that very sacred adage of never splitting the party, which, at such a high level with a creature that is powerful enough to speak a true name or find out your true name, that's a very dangerous proposition indeed. This class feature, unfortunately, just isn't going to be very good in most adventuring scenarios. At number 8, we have Metal. This class feature is given to Hexblades at level 3 and Crusaders at level 13. It is essentially evasion for fortitude saves. Whenever you'd get a partial effect from a spell or ability on a successful fortitude save, you instead do not get that effect if you pass your fortitude save. While this sounds great, Hexblades don't even have a good base fortitude save, and spells like Disintegrate have relatively minor effects on a successful fortitude save. Just taking 5d6 damage on a particular spell isn't going to be a very important thing to avoid necessarily. And this feature might save you from taking that 5d6 damage, which could be really important, but it is far less useful than evasion, as far fewer effects that require fortitude saves have a partial effect of any sort when you pass. And that makes this ability quite a disappointment. Still, it could save your life in some situations, otherwise it would be closer to number 1 on this list than it already is. At number 7, we have Tongue of the Sun and Moon. This is a level 17 monk class feature. It allows a monk to speak with any living creature, bypassing any need to know or speak its language. While this can be a very useful feature, if your party has a wizard, they can cast Tongues as a 3rd level spell. Also, the monk is already dependent on so many different ability scores that it's unlikely that they're going to be able to have a good charisma for negotiating. So a feature like this would be best suited to another class that could make better use of it. At number 6, we have Great Leap. This 4th level ninja class feature lets you make jump checks as if you had a running start, even from a standstill. This gives you a +4 and potentially a +15 or so on average. In a campaign with a lot of interesting terrain and combat, this could be useful from time to time. But anytime it isn't, you won't get anything out of it. and if you do invest ranks in the jump skill, you'll be able to make most jump checks without issue. Not to mention, if your party has a wizard or sorcerer, they can just cast the fly spell on you, and you won't need the jump skill at all. You get this feature one level before a wizard gets access to that spell, which is often on the short list to add to their spellbook, making this feature even less useful. At number 5, we have Poison Use. This is a class feature for level 3 or higher ninjas or first level assassins, breaking the rule on including prestige classes, but it is probably the most famous example of poison use being in play, but ninjas do also get it as a base class feature, so it gets to be on this list. Poison Use removes the 5% chance of poisoning yourself when applying poison or attacking with a poisoned weapon. While this will remove a lot of the fear from using a poisoned weapon, it doesn't make poison itself any better. It does nothing to improve the efficiency or efficacy of poison, which is still an extremely expensive and subpar tactic in D&D 3.5. Poison is resisted by fortitude saves, which is probably the best save most of the monsters you fight will have, if they're not outright immune to poison. And the enemies that don't have good fortitude saves are often the ones that are immune to poison. And if they are not immune to poison and they don't have a good fortitude save, then they're probably something like a living human wizard, and in which case they're going to be pretty easy to kill whether you use poison or not. The niche for poison is quite narrow, and this feature is completely useless unless you're willing to spend thousands of precious gold pieces to give yourself a slight edge in combat that will often disappoint you when your enemy's plus 14 fortitude save easily resists your 1,000 gold piece investment. At number 4, we have New Limb. This is a 15th level healer feature. It allows a healer to regrow a creature's lost or damaged body part once a day, as if casting Regenerate. Now, the healer is already not the most powerful class out there, being as close to a walking wand of Cure Wounds as a character can get. But this feature is especially bad because it only lets you regrow limbs. Losing a limb is not particularly common in D&D 3.5. There's not very many explicit mechanical ways in which that can happen, except for perhaps a Vorpal Sword, which cuts your head off and kills you, which is not going to be solved by this ability. What's more, the healer gets the spell Regenerate on their spell list, so if they somehow do need to regrow a limb, they can do so without this feature, while also healing a character for 48 plus caster level. Admittedly, that does use up a spell slot, but you're hardly going to use the New Limb feature at all, given how rarely such a thing happens, given the abstraction that the hit points in D&D 3.5 operate on, and a variety of other reasons why characters don't often get limbs severed in the game. This is one class feature you definitely wouldn't miss if it was gone. At number 3, we have Trackless Step. This is a class feature that druids get at 2nd level and scouts get at 3rd level. It prevents you from being tracked by non-magical means. This is a really flavorful and memorable feature, but sadly, in a party full of characters who are not scouts or druids, you aren't going to get much out of this feature if someone's tracking you, as your party members are still going to leave tracks behind. This feature is a bit more useful for NPC enemies, but that's not what we're considering here. Trackless Step will likely just be a phrase in your character sheet and nothing more, while if your group is actually being tracked by a gang of rangers, you'll be using the Pass Without Trace spell instead. At number 2, we have Dragonkin. This is a 4th level feature for Dragonfire Adepts. It gives you a +4 bonus to diplomacy checks to influence dragons or dragon-blooded creatures. This is pretty situational, and if you want to go with a diplomacy-based build, odds are you won't need a feature like this to get the job done. The number of diplomacy checks you'll make against dragons, even in the campaign where you play this class that might be centered around dragons, is still likely to stay in the single digits. This feature also helps you dodge a dragon's Frightful Presence ability, but that is likely to only ever make you shaken, so for a situational feature like this, it's not going to be worth it in the majority of campaigns, and you're probably going to forget you even have it. And at number 1, we have Aiijutsu Master. This is a 5th level samurai class feature. While samurai is already one of the weakest player character classes in the game, this feature is particularly disappointing. It gives you the effect of the quick draw feat, but only when you draw your katana and wakizashi. To be fair, these are the weapons you will want to be using with this class and will most likely be useful in a city campaign, but quick draw is really only useful for thrown weapon builds. If you want to avoid needing this feature, just perhaps consider having your weapons drawn when you enter the dungeon. There are some cases where this ability might be needed, such as when you need a hand free while dungeon delving and can't have both your weapons out as your samurai fighting style expects you to. So in some situations this feature helps you, but they are so rarely encountered that this being a 5th level feature makes it the worst class feature in D&D 3.5. So that'll be about it for this video. Check out the prestige class reviews on this channel for some class features that are not the worst in the game. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, and so on. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time here on 3.5 Archive.